There is a quiet truth that very few people ever notice, not because it is complicated, not because it is difficult to understand, but because it goes against what we have been taught for most of our lives. That truth is this: you are stronger than you think. And perhaps when you hear this, you shake your head. You may be tired. You may be disappointed in yourself. You may have fallen too many times, so many times, that you no longer believe there is any strength left inside you. Stoicism does not come to offer empty comfort. It does not come to convince you that life is easy. Stoicism does only one thing. It reminds you of a truth you have forgotten, that you have stood through moments which, if you return to them now, you would not believe you could survive, that you have endured pain no one ever saw, that you have continued walking even when you felt hollow inside, even when motivation was gone, even when all you could do was survive one more day. You fail to see this because you have grown used to seeing strength as something loud, as great victories, as glorious moments. But in Stoic understanding, true strength is always quiet. And today, let this story remind you of this. You are not as weak as you think. You have simply forgotten how strong you have already been. Stoicism does not define strength as controlling the outside world. It does not believe the strong are those who always win. It does not believe the strong are those who never suffer. On the contrary, to a Stoic, the strong are those who are not defeated from within. There is a paradox at the heart of Stoic philosophy. It accepts that human beings cannot control most of life. Yet it is precisely this acceptance that creates strength. Because when you stop trying to control what is beyond your reach, all your energy returns to the only place you can truly govern, your mind and your actions. You are not weak because life is difficult. You are exhausted because you have tried to control too much that was never yours. You try to please everyone. You try to keep everything from changing. You try to avoid pain, avoid loss, avoid failure, but life does not work that way. Stoicism teaches that strength is not found in avoiding the storm. It is found in standing firm when the storm arrives. You believe you are weak because you feel fear, but Stoicism says courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is doing what is right, while fear is present. You believe you are weak because you have fallen, but Stoicism reminds you that falling is not failure. Only surrender is failure. You have continued living even on days when you wanted to disappear. That is not weakness. That is silent strength. There is a form of strength that modern society has nearly forgotten. It is the strength to endure. Not endurance that destroys you in silence, but endurance with awareness, with dignity, with self-command. Stoicism understands that suffering is an unavoidable part of being human, but it clearly distinguishes between pain and misery. Pain comes from circumstances. Misery comes from how we respond. You cannot control when loss appears, but you can control how deeply it consumes you. You cannot control the words of others, but you can control how long you allow them to live in your mind. Stoicism does not ask you to become numb. It only asks that you do not betray yourself. You are stronger than you think because You have stayed silent when you could have exploded. You have chosen calm when surrender would have been easier. You have refused to retaliate, not because you were weak, but because you understood that not every battle deserves your strength. True strength does not seek attention. It does not need validation. It reveals itself in choices no one applauds. One of the greatest reasons people believe they are weak is because they measure themselves against illusions. They see the success of others, but not their sleepless nights. They see the confidence of others, but not their private doubts. Stoicism does not compare, because it understands that every person is fighting a different battle. Your strength does not need to resemble anyone else's. It only needs to be strong enough for you to live by your values. You do not need to become someone who never hurts. You only need to become someone who does not let pain turn them bitter. You do not need to become someone who never fears. You only need to become someone who does not allow fear to decide their actions. Stoicism teaches that a truly strong person is one who can face the truth about themselves, who accepts their weaknesses, but never uses them as an excuse to stop. You are stronger than you think because you are still here. You are still listening. You are still seeking understanding. And that means you have not abandoned yourself. Stoic strength is not something that appears in dramatic moments. It is built daily through very small choices. When you rise and do what must be done, even without motivation. When you keep promises to yourself, even when no one sees. When you say enough to what is draining you. The Stoics call this inner discipline. Not discipline to become rigid, but discipline to avoid being ruled by fleeting emotions. You do not need to become someone else. You only need to return to who you were before the world taught you to doubt yourself. Each time you choose calm instead of impulsive reaction. Each time you choose silence instead of pointless argument. Each time you choose to continue instead of quitting, you become stronger even if you do not feel it yet. Stoicism does not seek the feeling of strength. It builds the ability to remain steady, regardless of emotion. And that is the most enduring strength a human being can possess. Perhaps today you still do not believe you are strong. That is acceptable. Stoicism does not demand belief. It invites honest observation of your life. Look at what you have endured. Look at the moments you believed you could not continue, yet did. Look at the times you chose integrity, even when others did not treat you with kindness. That was not luck. That was strength. You do not need to become invincible. You only need to become someone who does not abandon themselves when life becomes difficult. If today you are tired, rest, but do not call yourself weak. If today you doubt yourself, remember this. The very act of seeking truth, listening, learning is already proof of deep inner strength. You are stronger than you think, not because you never fell, but because you always rose in your own way. And if this video speaks to you, stay with Stoic Penglai. We do not move fast. We move steady.